fought off a controversial impeachment vote in the House, Congress now rushes to make a budget deadline. The stakes, another government shutdown. We hear from a North Texas lawmaker.
I think the House has a responsibility and has an opportunity to pass a very strong budget bill.
All this happens as the primary season back in Texas already enters the final stretch. With immigration top of mind for voters,
Texans need us to respond. Our border communities need us to respond. We can't just play politics.
We hear from two candidates aiming for the U.S. Senate.
Democrats don't want to talk about it. They don't want to address it. You have to address it.
And then a check-in with the Texas economy. Some good news, but what's around the corner right now on Lone Star Politics.
This is Lone Star Politics from NBC5 and the Dallas Morning News.
Good Sunday morning. I'm Phil Prazen from NBC5.
And I'm Gromer Jeffers, political writer with the Dallas Morning News. This will be a busy week. Texans will begin early voting in less than 48 hours for the March 5th primary.
We look at the Democratic race to take on U.S. Senator Ted Cruz. But first, a look at the headlines. Now we wait for a federal judge's decision on the new state law making it a crime to cross the border illegally. Lawyers argued in court last week over whether Senate Bill 4 was constitutional or did it violate the right of immigrants to claim asylum. The law is supposed to go into effect March 5th. The loser of this case will likely appeal to a higher court. And the Attorney General himself, Ken Paxton, was in court in Harris County Friday. That court rejected his latest efforts to throw out his criminal charges on securities fraud allegations. This time, over the amount of time it's taken to go to trial. That trial will begin in April. He's pled not guilty to the charges which stem from way back in 2015.
In Washington, the U.S. Senate has the next move after the Republican-led House voted to advance 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They claim he wasn't strict enough on the border.
And once again, a government shutdown is looming. Representatives aren't scheduled to return to Washington until just 2 days before the March 1st budget deadline. And now joining us from Washington, D.C. is Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne. Thanks for joining us this weekend.
Sure, glad to be here.
Let's just start with the latest foreign aid package that passed out of the Senate earlier this week. So $95 billion for Ukraine funding, Taiwan funding, and Israel funding. What's your position on that bill?
Well, one, I need to see, I think, more fully. I think what we'd like to see is those as 3 separate bills on, as opposed to trying to tie it with our border security, seeing it as an Israel package, seeing it as a Ukraine package, and then seeing it as a Taiwan package. But whichever one we do, we need to make sure that we are tying the appropriate HR 2 to, and I would say that would be Ukraine. And then we also have an opportunity with Ukraine to look at just defense spending as opposed to humanitarian aid, because I know that there's some questions right now on whether or not that money is actually going where it needs to go. And I think if it's on military aid, it's a lot easier to keep track of.
Am I hearing you correctly that so you would support a Ukraine aid bill if it was connected to HR 2, that border security package?
Well, it would depend, again, on whether or not it's strategic spend or whether or not it's going to potential, corruption. So how they pay the money, how much money it would be, and where it would be directed, making sure it's strategic in the U.S. best interest, I think is what I would be looking for.
Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas has been impeached. Representative, does this rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors? What do you think will happen in the Senate? And
I would say the fact that you have 110,000 people who died as a result of fentanyl coming in over our southern border, the fact that you've got over 10 million people who have been allowed to enter our country illegally, and some people have even said, like, for example, Chad Wolf, it's more like 11 million people in the last 3 years. You've got people who are here illegally that are beating our police officers in the street, then flipping cameras off. You've got daily basis of drug trafficking, sex crimes, sex trafficking, child trafficking. At the same time, you've seen increases in murders, rapes that are being committed by people who shouldn't be here. I look at Mayorkas, and these are results of his policies that he has executed. as a direct result of memos that he has sent to Customs and Border Patrol to ignore the law.
I believe in just about 2 weeks we have a deadline that could lead to a government shutdown. How confident are you that we will actually pass a budget as a country as opposed to a CR that just keeps kicking the can down the road? You guys are the budget writing house, after all.
Well, if we had the House and we had the Senate, it would be great because we would be able to push. But unfortunately, you've got a very narrow margin in both, and one is led by the House by the Democrats, the other is led, the House is led by the Republicans. So we're having a lot of horse trading going on right now. But you mentioned the tax bill, and that was a bill that we have been hearing from small businesses all across the country. Invest. They want to look at things like research and development, and they want to look at their expensing, their depreciation, and make us competitive with the rest of the world. So for Texas, that means saving about 8 million jobs and about over $700 million in wages, and that was a paid-for bill. So it was included provisions for child tax credits, which added a work provision on there, and it also added a Social Security requirement to make sure that we're not giving those dollars away to people who should not be here legally. The Tax Cut Jobs Act extension with our tax package that we just passed. Now, looking at the budget, we're going to have a hard time because we've got two hard deadlines that are coming up: March 1st and March 8th, and we have to either pass all of our appropriations and pass a budget, or, like you had mentioned, pass a short-term CR to give the appropriators more time to be able to negotiate this, which I don't think anybody has a stomach for, because it's continuing the same levels of spend that we saw under the traumatic last 2 years under Pelosi's rule, where we had just skyrocketing inflation. But we also have an opportunity to pass a long-term omnibus, a one-year omnibus, which has an automatic cut of 1% to our budget. But again, it's only 1%. I think we want it more targeted than that. And so
you said it was a hard time, so it doesn't sound like you're that confident that you'll get anything besides the CR.
Again, and that would just be extending it out. But I think they had a very contentious meeting here yesterday with a number of our members talking about the budget and talking about how we're going to pass it and what that means and what needs to be in it. And I think the House has a responsibility, it has an opportunity to pass a very strong budget bill. Now the Senate, can do what they will with it, but I would hope they would look at it and the merits. The fact that we've got over $34 trillion worth of debt now, the fact that within 5 years, over half of every dollar that the U.S. makes is going to be spent on servicing our debt. It is not sustainable spend. And, we had an opportunity last fall to be able to have discretionary funds, to be able to have a border bill passed and have a short-term CR. That did not pass. But we're going to be up against a wall March 1st. I know a number of us don't want to see the government shut down, but unless we do something about our border, I think this is a hill some of us are willing to die on.
Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Former United Nations ambassador and presidential candidate Nikki Haley brought her campaign to North Texas, telling a crowd in Dallas that she's the only Republican who can beat President Biden.
The people of Texas have a choice to make. Do we want more of the same, or do we want to go in a new direction? And more of the same is not just Joe Biden. More of the same is Donald Trump. And listen to America. 70% of Americans have said they don't want a Trump-Biden rematch. 59% of Americans have said Trump's too old and Biden's too old.
So, Gromer, you spent some time with her and talked to her. What stood out to you?
Two things. One, she doesn't really have a good answer on why she's trailing so badly in these primaries and in the polls in Texas. One poll shows Trump with a 61 percentage point lead over her. So what she's trying to do is get people to look toward the general election, making the argument that if Trump's the nominee, he will lose. If she's the nominee, they will win. And she will have coattails to help other Republican candidates down ballot. Whether they're hearing that argument, though, the Republican primary voters, not yet, but that's her challenge.
Do you think that the Republican primary voters care that former President Trump has all these court cases coming up. He's getting to have a lot of baggage.
No, they don't, because they feel like this is all, as Trump puts it, they believe him when he says it's election interference, and so they're riding with him. They think it's all part of the process, and in the end that he will be victorious, especially if they stick with him. Ready or not, Phil, the March 5th primary is right around the corner. Early voting starts this week.
One of the closely watched races is on the Democratic side for U.S. Senate. The Democrats are running with the goal to face off with Senator Ted Cruz in November. Voters will see nearly a dozen names on the March ballot. However, according to a recent poll, Dallas Congressman Colin Allred has a solid lead over his primary opponents. State Senator Roland Gutierrez of San Antonio is quite far away in second, and none of the other candidates got more than 4%, including State Representative Carl Sherman of DeSoto. 38%, Gromer, were undecided.
And there's a question in the primary, what type of Democrat is best, not just to beat Ted Cruz, but to represent Texas in the Senate. Your opponent has described himself as a progressive Democrat. I know you resist labels, but how do you describe yourself? What makes you the best choice?
Well, I describe myself as a leader, somebody who's tried to do what I think is best for the district that I've represented and now for the state that I hope to represent. I don't follow whatever the trend of the day is or whatever folks are saying. I try to do what I think is best for us based on being raised by a single mom here in Dallas, being a fourth-generation Texan. I think I know who we are. And we're a little bit different. We're a little different than a National Democratic Party would be. And so I think a Texas Democrat also has to be a little bit different. That's how I've served as well.
The Texas Democrat has to be closer to the middle, you think?
Well, I think so. I think that's who we are. Yeah. I really do. And I think we have a long tradition of independent leaders from Texas, from LBJ to Sam Rayburn to Barbara Jordan, folks who spoke with a kind of singular Texas voice and didn't just follow what was happening in California or New York or something like that, because we're a state of 30 million people with our own interests, with issues that are important to us that might be different from another state.
Let's talk about border security, immigration issues. Of course, the big compromise, bipartisan deal did not get through the Senate. Would you have voted for it had it got to the House?
I would have, and I'm disappointed that it didn't go through because we do have a crisis at our border. And when I see someone like Ted Cruz opposing it, not on the policy, but on the politics, I know that something is fundamentally broken in Washington. Texans need us to respond. Our border communities need us to respond. We can't just play politics with these things and say, you know what, I want the problem so I can run on it in November. I think that's unacceptable to Texans. That's certainly not the way I'll serve in the Senate. It didn't have everything that I wanted in it. It was a compromise that I think had to get both sides to kind of give a bit. But oftentimes, that's also where we produce legislation that actually helps folks.
As it relates to border security, you supported building barriers, and as you put it, where it makes sense. Your opponent has criticized you for that. Why build barriers along the southern border?
Well, what we're seeing at the southern border is that folks are coming to apply for asylum. In fact, they want to be found by Border Patrol agents, and they're saying, listen, I have an asylum claim and I'd like to have my claim heard. There are places where physical barriers are actually better, both for, I think, the migrants in terms of channeling them to places where they can be more safely processed, and for our CBP agents, making their job easier. And we do have folks who are trying to get illicit drugs across the border, for example. When we have high-trafficked areas, there are some times when some physical barrier can be helpful. Now, what I don't support, and what I never have, is sort of this barbed wire approach and this kind of inhumane approach that I've seen from Governor Abbott and that I think President Trump has advocated for. To me, that's not consistent with our values, and it also wouldn't actually do anything for security.
We're here with State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who is running in the Democratic primary to take on Senator Ted Cruz in November. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's just start with the topic of immigration. You released a plan recently, a 5-point plan on immigration. Just why come out with an immigration plan? It seems very different from what your opponent, Representative Colin Allred, is talking about on TV, abortion and kind abortion and democracy. Why go immigration?
Well, what I talk about is guns and how loose Republican gun laws are killing our kids. Certainly democracy is important. Certainly the reproductive rights issues are important. We talk about immigration as well because we talk about the problems that are happening in this state. But let's be very clear. You have to have a plan in order to fix this problem, and only senators and congressmen and women can fix this, not a president. Here you have Colin that last week signed on, just 14 Democrats. One of them, Colin Allred, signed on to a resolution bashing the governor, bashing the president rather. And all it was just Republican talking points. He didn't sign on to some immigration bill. He didn't sign on to the one that he likes to talk about, the Dignity Act. I call it the Indignity Act. He talked about how Biden is opening the borders to everybody.
You know, some may see this and say, do you really want to fight on a turf of immigration that Republicans seem comfortable fighting on?
The fact is, this is what they've been talking about election after election after election. Mm-hmm. Democrats don't want to talk about it. They don't want to address it. You have to address it, and if you look at my plan at RolandForTexas.com, you see that we expand J-1 visas so that rural Texans could have more doctors, for foreign doctors in their communities. You see that we look at eliminating H-2As and H-2Bs, creating a new guest worker program. We have a country of origin program where you apply for a job in Guatemala or Nicaragua or wherever, and you apply for a job processing meat in Omaha, wherever that is, and that employer petitions you, you get background checked, you get processed, and you get a bus fare into the United States, just like you do today under broken H-2A and H-2B visa protocols. We've got to fix all of this. But my opponent's idea of addressing it is agreeing with the Republicans saying we need to build a border wall. Nonsense. He said that on October 6th. Nonsense. Colin Allred's idea is holding hands with extremist Republicans saying, oh, Joe Biden, you're an open borders president. That's just not true. To your point,
how do you get it to happen? That's what I mean. In this gridlock, in this era,
we have a real discussion with people about our economy, about our border. If you do my plan, you secure the border, you fix our economy, and by the way, you safeguard Social Security for the next 100 years. We need 30 million jobs. Every economist will tell you, worth their salt will tell you, that there are jobs that Americans simply don't want to do. It would take us 15 years to be able to fill those jobs.
Again, early voting for the March 5th primary starts Tuesday. Check out our voter guides online on NBCDFW.com and DallasNews.com. And we have extended interviews with the candidates online and on our streaming channels, including Roku and Samsung TV Plus. Texas continues to lead the nation in job growth, with DFW seeing the biggest gains of any metro in the state. Gromer, you and Brian Curtis had a chance to speak with Emily Kerr, senior business economist with the Dallas Federal Reserve.
We did, and she broke down the numbers and said the overall news is good.
Texas economy is doing really well, both North Texas and the state overall. So one way that we think about economic activity and one measure that we look at is job growth. And for Texas, job growth is usually around 2% per year, and last year was 3%. And so growing faster than usual and a lot of positive signs across the state.
That is good news. So how are we doing compared to the rest of the nation?
Yeah, so better. Texas generally outperforms the nation in terms of economic growth. We have a lot of things in our state that sort of work to our favor in terms of stronger population growth and trade we have our trade, our trading partners with Mexico and then our Gulf Coast, so sort of give us some advantage. And that has held up this past year as well. So 2% job growth in the U.S. versus 3% in Texas. And we usually grow about a percentage point faster. So we've kept that premium up until now.
So when you hear Texas leaders like Abbott brag about the economy, it's based on something then.
Yeah, the Texas economy, it's doing well. We are seeing a downshift in growth, but healthy and normal. That's what we'd expect. Over the past few years, we've seen much stronger than usual job growth. So 4% in 2022, 6% the year before that. And that's not sustainable. Whenever we sort of see an economic bust like we saw, we see a boom and then a return to normal. And so we're on that return to normal path now.
So no one should be concerned when they see these declining numbers.
Yeah, as long as Texas is still growing, and especially growing above average, which we still have been, then the moderation in growth isn't a sign of concern. It's sort of a normal and healthy trajectory back to sort of a sustainable pace for our state.
Anything that you're watching very closely?
Yeah, so inflation in terms of price growth is coming down, but it's still a bit high, and so that's a headwind for the economy and something we're looking out for. Our businesses are also concerned, this rising concern of sort of geopolitical risk and that uncertainty. And uncertainty across the world is hard for businesses. It's tough on the economy because it impacts business investment and their ability to sort of plan ahead.
Conventional wisdom among a lot of economists was that we would be facing a recession, but that has not happened. I mean, is it safe to say that we have achieved that soft landing that we were aiming for?
I mean, in Texas, we've outperformed what even we were expecting for Texas growth over the past couple of years. And so I think the economy has certainly shown a lot of resiliency in a good way. And our expectation going forward for Texas is 2% job growth this year, and that's average for us. And so a step down from last year, but sort of landing back at our long-term expectation for Texas. So I think lots of reasons to be hopeful that we'll continue to see job growth in the state rather than recession.
That's all the time we have. I'm Phil Prazen.
And I'm Gromer Jeffers. We'll see you back here next week, next Sunday, for more Lone Star Politics.